tell us what stood out the most.
The general United Nations hypocrisy. Normally they try to hide it. Like, they'll have these things in places that are, I don't know what the word is, more industrialized, more hooked to general sewage systems than Belém, Brazil. And this is not an attack on the people of Belém, Brazil. They were actually the best part of the entire trip, were how lovely the people were. But they deserved a lot better than what they got from the United Nations when I was there. And that was the most appalling thing for me. For those of you who don't know, although I don't know how you couldn't, because a lot of you were emailing me about how terrible my hair looked in Brazil. And I agree with you. I agree with you.
Not
It
me.
was bad. It was bad because it was like 100% humidity there all the time. And the sky would just open up. It would just be hot, hot, hot. And then the sky would open up. I'm like, oh, yeah, I guess this is the rainforest. I should be expecting this. But my hair did not do well at 100% humidity. I like the dry prairie air. But I was at the United Nations Climate Change Conference in Belém, Brazil. And we were accredited for the event. However, they decided at the last minute that, we could be accredited, but definitely not for the conference right there. We could come 2 weeks earlier for the leaders event. I'm like, well, thanks.
Wait a minute. So they thought we're living in a Star Trekian world where we can bend the time-space continuum and go back in time 2 weeks so you could be accommodated? Yeah. Are you serious?
Yes, 100%. And they said, oh, but we would let you in right now if you would attach yourself to a government, like if your government would allow you to come in with them. And I'm like, we're here as critics of them and this entire thing. So most definitely not. We're independent journalists. We will not rely on the government to accredit us, or if we attached ourselves to an NGO. And that just was not the case. I mean, I suppose I could have leaned on our friends at Climate Depot to get in, but they had already gone. Okay. So, but anyways, it's all besides Sheila, the point. It's besides the point.
To me, it's a moot point because you were prior to your trip, and it was such an arduous trip from northern Alberta to Brazil.
David, I don't even want to explain how bad the flights were, and then how bad the flights were to get home, and the like missing connections. And like, it was just, when you have 55,000 people flying into a place and then all trying to fly out at the exact same time, for me to have gotten a trip, like a flight home that would have been less physically taxing than mine, like it took me almost 4 days to get home.
Unbelievable.
It would have been like a $15,000 flight, and we weren't paying that. I was like, no, I'm tough as nails. I can do this, and so I did.
And they don't care that you did that. Two things. One is, first of all, I love what the humidity did to your hair. It looks like one of those $400 Yorkville hair salon clips. I thought you looked
I'm better now at the 0% humidity and the static electricity, but it was like sweltering. Yeah. But you wouldn't know that from the kept journalists who were sitting inside the air-conditioned plaza that did eventually burn down. But that's another part of the story.
Yeah, maybe that is even more proof there is God. But the second thing, Sheila, and this is important. I don't know. I mean, I have no skin in the game aside from you being my beloved colleague. But it's important to note you were pre-approved. You were given credentials.
Had the emails. Yep. So, we show the emails in all of our reports. We were approved. And then you're at the whim of the United Nations once you get there. And it's like, no, you shall not pass, and you can't record at the accreditation desk because it's a high security place, right? And look, I understand that. And then it's like the military police and the armed guards are like, okay, out you go, right out that way.
So Sheila, here's the question. Who was behind making sure you didn't get in when you were pre-approved? Who's the assassin here?
Well, if history is any predictor, I would guess it was the Canadian government. We know that the Canadian government complained to the United Nations back in 2016 after I asked a chief, I think it was Derek Nepenak. Anyways, he was standing in the middle of the climate change venue and he was like, yeah, and they're poisoning our people, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I'm going to ask some questions about this because I know a little thing about Indigenous relations in the oil and gas sector. And so I was like, oh, where are you from? Oh, Manitoba. I'm like, huh, what do you have to do with the oil and gas sector? You're an Indigenous chief from Manitoba. What are you talking about? What are you here doing, trying to unemploy the people of Mikisew, Fort McKay, Cold Lake First Nation? Like, how does this even affect you?
And
except
so,
you're a useful idiot.
Because you asked impolite questions, you are journalist non grata now.
Yeah, I was banned for harassment.
And to quote, harassment. And
yeah.
So it's the Who song, isn't it, Sheila? Meet the new boss, same as the old boss. Carney's in charge now. When that happened, it was blackface, and but it's standard procedure. How shameful! But anyways,
you know what? It didn't matter. I was fully prepared to do good journalism from the outside anyway, and I think I did. You know, city wriggling with foreign journalists, not one of them decided to go see the highway cut through the rainforest. And it did take some actual journalism to find that thing, because you had to find it on Google Earth, because it's not on Google Maps, because it's not finished yet, because they were building it to alleviate the traffic for the climate change conference.
Wow.
But it's not done. You can see it's not finished. I don't know how those little cars go off-roading, but they did. And we found it on Google Earth, and we had to find like a place that was nearby so we could get a ride to the place nearby, get out, and then hike up to the construction site so there's the Google Earth. And then so we found a place that was close, got a ride, and then hiked in the 34-degree heat to show people what the journalists of the world wouldn't. And we also showed where the journalists of the world were staying on those really nice 2 cruise ships on a multi-million-dollar high security dock that they built for them because they didn't like the local accommodation. So they stayed out there.
Wow.
They didn't want to show anybody that. And they certainly didn't want us pointing out the sewage outflows, untreated sewage outflows that was going right past the old cruise ships into the Atlantic and then sort of backwashing into the Amazon rainforest.
And Sheila, my final point on this is the perverse irony here in the UN doing you a colossal favor in being censorious.
We found those. Not a single journalist went out and found those.
Exactly. And just think how bored to tears you would be in that air condition, listening to all these sanctimonious diplomats drone on.
God, could you imagine?
Again, they did you the biggest favor, and you did the best journalism of any journalist there, bar none.
I think one of the pieces of journalism that I'm most proud of, and there's a bit of a backstory for it, and you could sort of tell in the video it's kind of rushed, but we didn't have a choice, is we saw in local Instagram stories in Portuguese that they were complaining that the United Nations was dumping their garbage in a local favela.
Jeez.
You know, out of sight, out of mind, we'll just dump it on the poor people. They don't care. So we saw in the background of this Instagram story this very noticeable building, and we knew the neighborhood of the favela. So then we got on Google Earth, found the building, and we hired a driver, and we asked him to wait, and he said, "You guys have 2 minutes. I'm not waiting. I'm going to get carjacked."
What? So, is it that dangerous?
Yeah. This is Belém is one of the. It depends on the year. But this is our work we did on Google Earth. It's one of the top 24, depending on the year, most dangerous cities in the world. Ooh. And so he said, "I'll give you 2 minutes." So we were like, fine, we're running. We ran, and we were sort of dejected. We were like, we just saw how the sewage outflows and everything in this neighborhood. By the way, this neighborhood, COP redirected all their sewage through their neighborhood.
What?
Yeah. So, and I say COP, I mean the Conference of the Parties. That's the United Nations Climate Change Conference. So we're running back, and I look at Kian, and I'm like, Right there. There's the signage. The locals had used, this was their little dumping site. And the locals had started picking through the garbage to use it. And there's where they're stacked up all the United Nations signs right there. Wow. And that was just like on our way back to the driver. And the driver was sort of like pulling ahead. Like, we found it, we're coming. He wasn't going to wait for us. He said he was going to be carjacked. So,
what a farce. The whole thing's a farce. I mean, Sheila, do you think there's any reason for us to keep going to these things? It's the same hypocritical nonsense.
Yeah, as long as they remain hypocrites, I'm going to do my best to keep exposing it. Belém, though, has been the worst because the amount of money invested in the climate change conference should have been spent to make the lives of the people of Belém better. Like, you shouldn't be building infrastructure for your conference so that all the fancy people of the world are comfortable when 60% of the people in the city live in a favela, a slum, and when only 4% of the sewage is treated, under 4%, and only 20% of it is captured. Like, when you flush the toilet, it's not see you later, or it's not see ya, it's see you later. You can go downstairs and see where it's like they have open gutters there of sewage. And that, I found it so angering because, apparently you can build infrastructure, just not for the people who live here.
Oh my God. And that might explain why you told me off camera you're feeling a little queasy. I'm
very sick, actually. I have the stomach virus. It's okay. I'm powering through. I came home very sick, and I was glad that I didn't fully get, I was starting to feel gross as I was traveling, and I thought, oh, it's just because of the horrible travel that I had to endure to get home, because to get home I had to go from the top of Brazil to the near bottom of Brazil and then back up. Anyways, I made it home. I thought it was jet lag. It's definitely not jet lag. But anyways, if you want to see my reports, people at home, and if you want to support our trip there, because I'm telling you, it was so expensive. And we did, as I explained right now, we did our very best to keep the costs as low as possible. But if you think our journalism was important, and I do, I'm actually really proud of the work that we did, you can support us at rebelun.com.